Welcome back once again, Knicks fans. Just wanted to recap the Summer League and also talk a little bit about this Donovan Mitchell trade that the Knicks are trying to get done. And it's obviously it's really interesting. It's been really exciting for the New York Knicks. A lot of anticipation, especially around this, Donovan Mitchell and also around, the upcoming season. And so, but we'll start with the Summer League first. And so, with the Summer League, a few of the players I wanted to go over. We're really looking at basically Quentin Grimes, McBride, and Sim, who really wanted to see how they were going to fare because they're second year players. And we're just trying to see what they're working on to see if they've made any improvements, they're gonna add any new things to their game. And Quentin Grimes, he's the one actually. A lot of the focus was on Quentin Grimes, and so a lot of the offense flew through him, and so he did a lot of playmaking, at least attempting to playmake for his teammates and also for himself. I think he led the summer league with almost 23 points per game, which is pretty good. That was over 5 games. However, he only shot 41% from the field, so I wasn't extremely impressed with it. At first, I wasn't extremely impressed with it, but then again, if you kind of think about it, a lot of the offense is flowing through him, and then also he did see some double teams in a few games in the summer league. So because of that, you kind of have to give him a little bit of kudos for the effort that he did, and actually being able to at least produce the 23 points per game, which isn't too terrible. Well, actually, 23 points per game is really good. I shouldn't say it's not too terrible, but the field goal percentage, I guess it's sort of like grading on the curve, and so you don't. I'm not gonna say it's like terrible. The 41% shooting, and so it's interesting. Honestly, I'm not really sure what to make of it because efficiency is really important to me. However, like I said, the offense flowed through him, and he did see some double teams, and so I can understand the poor, basically the subpar field goal percentage. The other thing I did like is he improved a little bit with the rebounding, and which is about 4 rebounds per game. We'll kind of see how that translates to the regular season. Uh, Last year, a lot of rebounds. I don't even know if he averaged more than one. He probably averaged maybe one rebound a game last year. Maybe I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but it just felt like I remember seeing only one rebound per game. He did average 4 assists. That looked pretty good, but then again, you have to compare that to the turnovers. So basically 4 assists, but then had 3 turnovers. So basically, assist to turnover was almost basically almost 1-to-1, right? It's not it's not that great. Every assist he has, he basically so every 1.5 assists he has basically like one turnover. It seems like so that's not that great. The other person was Miles McBride that we're looking at. Miles McBride I thought played fairly solid, shot pretty well from the field. This is what I like to see. I like to see basically people shooting fairly high percentage from the field, and especially if it's summer league, you want to shoot. I think you want to shoot big. Honestly, in summer league, I feel like you want to shoot above like 43%, 44%. However, it's the dynamic is a little difficult. You're not playing with like great players, obviously. So that's I could see how that um, a player to struggling, especially with Quentin Grimes. So, for example, Quentin Grimes would have needed to play with a point guard that can actually break down the defense and try to get him some open shots. So if that happened, maybe he would have been able to shoot a higher percentage. Uh, McBride, although he wasn't able to break down the defense the way we liked it, but if he actually shot pretty well. And so the one thing I like about guys with good field goal percentage means they make good decisions, especially if they're playing a ton of minutes. He played almost 30 minutes a game, and he shot 50% from the field. 36% from three, and so it shows sound decision making regardless of what the competition is. It's something that you like to see. He also averaged 3.4 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, and turnover was 2.2. So something it's I think he can improve on a little bit, but 5 assists to 2 turnovers. I guess that's not you know it's not terrible, but it's not great either. And so that's what we have with Deuce. So I like Deuce the way I really like the way he played. I thought he was pretty solid. The only thing I didn't like about Deuce with his play is he just really needs to learn how to get into the hole, how to drive to the basket. It's so interesting how we drafted these two. The last two point guards we drafted are guys that basically can't really get to the basket. They can't take two steps and get to the lane and just lay the ball up. So it's really interesting to see that. However, it doesn't mean like he's a bad player or anything, but he just needs to really work on that. The other person is Jericho Sims. I thought he played pretty solid. Jericho Sims. I like to see. Um, sometimes I feel like I want to see a little more from him around the basket. I mean, he's a great finisher. He's a lob threat, which is really good. But sometimes I feel like in traffic when he gets the ball, he struggles just basically sometimes just going up and finishing, especially when someone is next to him. So I just don't it's something I guess they can work on, and I think he may be able to improve on it because he's definitely too strong and too athletic to struggle finishing with someone on him in traffic. So it's especially in the half court set, and so that's something he needs to work on. But overall, I thought he played pretty well. He averaged 12 points per game and averaged 9 rebounds a game, which is really good. And so that was good to see. And also, I think he can, he did pretty okay on the defensive end, but hopefully he can work a little more on the defensive end and he can improve on that as well. Farron Hunt, I thought was a little bit of an eye opener. Like I guess I want to say the first 3 games or so in summer league, kind of tailed off a little bit towards the end, especially the 2 games versus Portland. I felt like he didn't play that great for those games. And those are the 4 plays we're really like, looking at during the summer league. Trevor Keels, I guess it was okay. I think he's going to be in the G League. Same thing with Montero. If the Knicks keep both of them, they're going to be. I think both of them will stay in the G League. That's just what I think about both of these players, right? And so that was pretty much with summer league. They actually they lost to Portland in the championship, and one thing that that could stand out to me right off the bat was the free throw shooting, and so that's always been an issue for this ball club, and during the year, and it's clearly an issue during in summer league. And so it's just something I think these guys really need to work on. I think a lot of it is around like I guess endurance and physical fitness. And so as you see here, Quentin Grimes only shot below 70% from the free throw, which was that was a little it's that was a little surprising, right? And so, but hopefully that it's something he that's not going to carry over into the regular season. As you guys see here, we shot 69% in summer league from the free throw line, so that's not very good at all. And so that's pretty much what Grimes shot in summer league as well. So that's pretty much it for the summer league. Now I want to talk about the trade talk with Donovan Mitchell, and so that one has been really interesting. And so there's been a lot of talks around it. And so, number one, we know that Utah wants a ton. They want basically all of our young kids that we drafted, and so that's pretty much. I guess they think from what people are saying, they want Obi, Grimes, IQ, and Deuce essentially, and then they also want like 8 draft picks. I think that's just nonsense. Like right off the bat, that's nonsense. The Knicks should not care about what they got for Rudy Gobert years. You're going to have to just look at the individual player that you're going after and what the market, is going to be able to offer the Jazz for that player. And not really. I think the only people really in the market for the Jazz for this player right now, I think is Miami is like the one club that I heard about. I can't remember anyone else. Uh, but Miami, what are they going to offer? I think maybe they can offer like maybe 3 unprotected, possibly. And I don't even think they have 3 unprotected themselves. I think they're going to have to get it from somewhere else. And then maybe Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and Matt Strus, I'm hearing. So they really don't have much to offer. And so that's really what the best Miami can do: 3 unprotected, and then you know 3 role players. Pretty much role players, and with one in Tyler Hero that can actually possibly step up into being like, let's say, a secondary or third, third option on the team. Um, if that's the best that they can do, I think the Knicks can easily match that and just give them like maybe five draft picks, maybe four of them unprotected, and just give them one player. And honestly, in my opinion, um, given the players that they want, they're interested in, I'll those players. In my opinion, number one, I think they need to keep Obi Toppins. You don't want to get rid of Obi Toppins because down in the future, in a couple of years, we know chance they may have to move on from Julius Randle, and so you need to have Obi Toppin still on a squad. So it doesn't. That's one person you don't want to. I don't think they want to move on from. I think he's a very good player, and he really fits this ball club. And even like he actually fits, like I guess the way I'm not saying the NBA is set up to play the way he plays. I'm not going to say that because each team have their own style of play that they want the way they want to play. But in terms of like free flowing, really good offense, if you want a nice free flowing offense, I think you want to have Obi Toppin on your team. So that's one player they should not get rid of. I think he's out of this list. I think he has the highest upside. Number one, he actually and right away he's the one that can that's proof to you out of all these guys. He's the one player that proves to you that he can produce in the NBA, and also he can produce in the NBA at a very efficient clip. Right, Grimes produce right, but I think what he averaged 6 points last year maybe, and he actually was playing more than Obi Toppin. He played more minutes than Obi Toppin, and he was averaging less on less efficiency too. IQ, great defender. He's actually our best perimeter defender in my opinion. Way better than Grimes. I think everyone is like overrating his effectiveness on the defensive end, especially in the perimeter. I think we're really overrating Grimes' defensive ability. I mean, he's pretty good, but he's not. If you just look at the numbers, what opponents are shooting against him, it's just not. There's nothing impressive about it. So and actually, if you so if a so basically the NBA, the average field goal percentage in the NBA for each player is like 44%, maybe 45, and Grimes is giving up over 45% to the opponent every night. And so are you going to tell me that's actually excellent defense? And so I think we just need to kind of tone it down with his defensive abilities. I think we tend to overrate our own players quite a bit. Look, maybe I'm doing the same thing. I'm a big Obi fan, so I'm probably overrating Obi as well. However, with Grimes, he's just the one person I just don't really see it yet. If the rest of the league sees it in him, great. You know, that means that the value of him as a player is way more. IQ, great. Like I said, he's a really good defender. He's been struggling shooting and also being a consistent shooter. Excuse me. However, I do like him. Deuce McBride, I like his consistency, especially in the summer league. I really think, given the minutes, I think Deuce McBride is going to be a very solid point guard. The problem with him is, like I said earlier, just being able to get to the hole. He just can't do it, and so I think you're going to need someone who's basically going to be able to, like, who can actually get to the bucket, like a wing player who can actually get to the bucket, or even a two guard who can get to the bucket. Playing with Deuce, you need someone who can attack the paint while Deuce is out there, and Deuce can help you stretch the floor. But if we don't have that on the second unit, and we're trying to have Deuce as the backup point guard, I don't know. Good if you're playing Deuce and IQ at the backup. It'd be good maybe if IQ seems like he's improving on his ability to get to the basket, have both of them play, and Deuce can help stretch the floor for this team. However, he's definitely got a lot of work to do. The other person that's coming up is Reddish. I would also like he's one player I would like to keep as well. But if the Jazz really does like him and they find out that they really want Reddish, because what is Reddish? Maybe 22 years old now, so he's still really young. If that's someone they want, then they can, the Knicks can trade him to the Jazz and see if the Jazz can keep him. The Jazz may not want him because his contract is coming up, I think, next season, and so we have to make a decision on him this year anyway. Either we want to keep him and pay him, or but in terms of the Jazz getting him, the Jazz may not want him because they may not want to pay him right next season, and there's a possibility they can risk losing him, and then it's almost like then why get Reddish in a pick? So I'll be very surprised if the Jazz actually takes Reddish. If they do take Reddish, I think that would be good. Uh, if the Knicks are able to convince him to take it, I think that would be I guess, it might, I don't know, it might be a win for us a little bit, but I do like Reddish, and I don't know if we can afford to keep him anyway next season. But I do like him. So if I had to give someone up in this list, one player, I would give up. In my opinion, I would. If there was one player I would give up, I would give up Deuce. If they were agreed to take one player on this list, but we know they're not just going to take Deuce. So the other, if it was two players, if it was Deuce who wanted to give up and maybe convince them to take another player, and it seems like they really like Grimes, and you give them Deuce and Grimes, and that's it. That's just my opinion. I think I just have a feeling we're overrating Grimes a little bit. I could be wrong. I could be dead wrong, but I just kind of feel that we might just quite a bit. I mean, he's improving. He's showing some nice, he shows some nice stuff in summer league. Especially being able to put up 23 points a game was pretty good in summer league. So don't want to take that away. However, for our team, I mean, I think so. We have RJ who could play two or three, right? It's so it's I guess if we lose Grimes, I get the reason why people really want him because he's low usage and actually he can basically shoot. And so it'll be nice to keep him, but if Utah wants him, give him to Utah. You're talking about a 3-and-D player. I think you can always get another 3-and-D player in this league. I'm not saying it's extremely easy to get it, but you can get a 3-and-D player. That's just my opinion on it. And if I had to give up three players, it will be Deuce, IQ, and Grimes. For me, I would not give up Obi. He's just the one player I just don't think we should give up. If you think about the future planning for this team, I just don't feel like that's someone they should they should give up in this trade because you need to leave yourself that flexibility, especially if you're going to move on from Julius Randle. Although Julius could end up having a much better year this year. Um, However, I really like Obi on this team, and then also I'm just praying and hoping Thibodeau plays this kid a little more, maybe at the five, or maybe actually. Raw Hebrew actually said was the first person to say this. I thought about it last year, but it's possible maybe play Obi at the three, or play Julius at the three. Like play both of them 3 and 4 sometimes, and so that's a pretty big lineup. I don't know if we'll be like agile enough, especially on the defensive end. But I think that lineup is agile enough on the offensive end, especially with Obi. You can definitely have Obi play at the three. We already see he can put the ball on the floor, he can shoot, and so he makes pretty good decisions. And so that's just what I think that they can do. So that's why I really hope they keep Obi. A lot of people feel like if they're giving up, like they would rather. I don't feel like they should give up Grimes over Obi because I don't think they should give up Obi over Grimes because like I said, I feel like Obi's a better player. It's also going to have it has a higher ceiling that Grimes will have. And then the other thing is, look, I'm not saying Grimes is a bad player. I'm not saying I don't want him on the Knicks. I'm just saying if we had to give up someone, in my opinion, if we had to give up someone of value that they really want, I would give up Grimes. That's just what I think. And also it kind of reminds me of that Melo trade back in 2013. I'm sorry, not 2013. When we get Melo, like 2011, 2012. Um, Go to that trade. It's so crazy. People compare. Okay, first of all, it reminds me of that Melo trade because I remember all the talk around Landry Fields about how great of a player he was, and everybody was like, "Don't give up Landry Fields, don't give up Landry Fields," and they were acting like this kid was the second coming of I don't know who, and he just wasn't. I never saw it. I never thought he was really that good. I just kind of felt like he really fit the team, and he benefited from the way the team was playing. Especially we had Stat on the squad, and Stat demanded a lot of attention, demanded a lot of double team, and so just the way the offense flowed, and because we had Stat and Raymond Felton, I think it just he really Landry Fields really benefited from that. And then as soon as we basically Carmelo came to the Knicks, the offensive flow was different because, of course, Ball was pretty sticky with Carmelo Anthony. And so Landry feels you kind of realize he's not really that much of a talented player in those kind of situations, especially like in a half court set where the ball gets a little sticky. Is he able to adjust his game and be just as productive as he was? And he wasn't. And he wasn't included in that trade. And everyone, like, I'm not sure if it was just like maybe Denver saw was like, look, I mean, he's not good. We don't want him. I don't know. I remember everyone did not want him in that trade, and and it kind of reminds me of the same thing. It was like, it, don't let this, don't let Grimes hold up this deal. If they want, like, let's say, if they want like Deuce, IQ, and Grimes and like four first round picks, actually, I think that's probably a little too much. If they want Grimes and another player and maybe four first round picks, I think you consider it. Maybe I think you do it. And my thing is like I would just offer whatever the other team in the league is able, the other team who's interested in Donovan Mitchell, whatever they're able to offer, you just want to slightly go above that. And it's pretty easy because it seems like it's pretty public. Everyone knows what each team has, at least the front offices. They know what each team has to offer. And then they probably know basically what the possibilities are for each team to acquire additional draft picks in order to trade for Donovan Mitchell. And so I think it's something that's pretty easy to figure out, right? I think you can have a pretty good idea what the rest of the league has to offer, and then you can just maybe just slightly offer above that, go slightly above that, and go get your player. And so that's just what I think. I think the Knicks are actually in a position of strength, and luckily, I'm not. It's a good thing to hear. I'm not the only person who thinks this way because it's like honestly, we don't look. Yes, we want a star player, but you should not overpay for a star player. I just don't think you should. If they're talking about especially five first round picks and players, I think that's too much. That's definitely too much. I think don't let. He's a very nice player, but don't let because Danny Ainge because he's fleeced other people, you don't want to basically, mark up or basically say the value for Donovan Mitchell is here because we're dealing with Danny Ainge. No, I mean, like, like how would that guy? Like, why do you care what he's looking for, right? I mean, yeah, you do care what he's looking for, but if he's looking for everything he wants all your jewelry, cash, and everything in the kitchen cupboard. No, you don't give it to him. So screw that. So you don't have to make the deal. And also, we have now that we have Jalen Brunson, I think that's a pretty solid team. I think with Jalen Brunson, we can actually compete for the playoffs next year. Hopefully, if the coach actually plays opting a little more, I really think some of the young guys that we have are actually better than the veterans we have. And so, if the coach can actually wake up and play Obi Toppin a little more, um, and I think hopefully the team should be better. And so, because of that, because the team should be better next year, they shouldn't stress. I don't think they should basically give up a bunch of players and a bunch of draft picks for Donovan Mitchell. I just think they shouldn't. And so I think they are in a position of strength. I think Utah Jazz, they can project strength as much as they want. However, we know what the rest of the league has to offer for Donovan Mitchell. And if we don't want to, if we think the ask is too high, we don't have to go for it. We can just keep our team and keep building. I'm not saying it's going to be, we're going to get it perfectly just by building through the draft, but you just got to you got to be patient and keep going, and just keep going. Um, you know, and during like that Carmelo trade, like I remember people were acting like it was such a terrible trade, and like I think I've said it in previous videos. Anyone who thinks that was a terrible trade, in my opinion, you're out of your mind. You know, we essentially got Carmelo Anthony for a first round pick, 2 seconds, and a bag of balls. Like I mean, you look at Gallinari, and Wilson Chandler. Those guys barely play basketball. They barely. None of them played a full season when they left the Knicks. I don't even think any of them played more than 60 games a season when they left the Knicks. So it was actually I thought like that was a great trade. The only person I regretted us getting rid of was Raymond Felton. Raymond Felton's career just kind of fell off after that. I felt like he was the one player I felt like if he stayed with the Knicks, I think he would have had a very solid NBA career and things would have been different. I think he was the one person where the trade actually affected it. In my opinion, I don't know for sure, but in my opinion, it felt like the trade affected his career, and I think he would have been, he would have been a lot better if he was here in New York City. Because I think things are, he kind of had things set up really well for himself when he was here in the city. But that kind of changed when he came back the second time around. He was out of shape. He put on a lot of weight, and so and that was unfortunate. But he was still pretty solid during his second stint with us. He was just out of shape, really out of shape. But if he would have stayed, if we never traded him the first time during that Melo trade, man, it would have been great. And then also we forget we actually had Chauncey Billups as well from that trade. It was just they decided to buy him out and after that season, which was that actually really baffled me that they did that. I just didn't understand it. Why the team did that. Maybe there was like legitimate reasons regarding cap space. However, if they had, I think they would have been better off with. They should have kept Chauncey Billups. They should have brought him back for at least that additional year. With I think things would have been different. Oh yeah, because they did go and get Jason Kidd as well, so that was probably the other reason. But actually, that was a couple of years down the line they got Jason Kidd, right? But anyway, it's I guess the whole point is that Melo trade actually it was I don't know what people were talking about. That was actually a great trade. We did not we only gave it's pretty much the Knicks gave up a first round pick for Melo. That's what happened in that trade. Everyone talking about how like we gave up all of our players in future. That's nonsense. Those guys didn't play. If those guys were on the Knicks, they would have played probably 50 games a season and we would have been clamoring to get rid of him anyway, because it would have been like just Melo and then maybe a few G League players because we don't know when Gallinari or Wilson Chandler is going to be able to play, you know. So that's pretty much what I thought about that whole trade. So this one does kind of remind me of it because that's actually the biggest trade. We've This is the biggest trade since then, and so that's why I'm really thinking about that Melo trade. And in hindsight thought it was an excellent trade. And I'm actually glad, like people act like James Dolan is like such a moron, but I'm I'm glad he stepped into that situation and basically closed that deal. Anyone who says otherwise, I'm sorry, you guys are crazy. Again, just look at the people that we traded. Look at their freaking stats. Look at how many games they played in the league, and look at their stats. And you come back and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. That Melo trade was excellent, and hopefully this trade could be really good too if we can get Donovan Mitchell. But if we're gonna basically overpay, don't do it. Just stay with what you have, stay the course, and try to develop your players. Hope like RJ Barrett takes the next step and becomes more efficient. And that's the biggest thing. He needs to take like all eyes are on RJ Barrett. He's lucky that we have Jalen Brunson this year, so all eyes are going to be on him. But a lot of eyes are also going to be on RJ Barrett going forward because, like, look, you can't be shooting 40% from the field. This is your third season. Like, I know everybody, like, look, I think he's got he can be a really good player, possibly even an all star. He has the potential, he has the skills to do that. But he needs to he got to shoot over you're not going to be an all star shooting 40% from the field, and you're not going to be on anyone's list shooting 40% from the field. You're just not going to be you're not going to be respected as a basically um, in the league if you're shooting that low of a percentage. At least he needs to improve the percentage. The heck with respect. I don't even care about the respect from the rest of the leagues. We're not going to be able to win ball games if RJ Barrett becomes like a primary playmaker for the New York Knicks and the offense is running through him. We're not going to make the playoffs if he's shooting 40% from the field. It's just not, especially if he's taking enough shots to average 20 points per game. And he's going to want to increase his average this year. If he's shooting 40% from the field, the Knicks are in trouble. Especially if he's averaging 20 points per game. That's a lot of wasted. That's almost like a lot of wasted opportunities in in the production that he's given us. It's just the efficiency is just way too low, and he needs to improve that. So eyes are going to be on RJ Barrett this year. However, I'm hoping that Jalen Brunson kind of helps alleviate a lot of the pressure and the weight that's going to be on him. But he definitely needs to improve the field goal shooting because you also have to remember same thing with Julius Randle. He shot about 41% from the field last year. So we're going to see what happens this year. We got two players that are shooting like 41% from the field, and those guys are basically uh, basically had the bulk of our production on the offensive end in terms of points scored. They had the bulk of it, and they basically had some of the worst efficiency. Actually, even if you think about starters who average as many shots, who were averaging like I think each player was each Julius and RJ was averaging over 15 attempts per game. With the attempts that, if you look at the attempts they were averaging and the minutes they played, I anything that they were in the bottom of the league in field goal percentage in terms of like the number, given the number of attempts. Like I think both of them were averaging something like 17 attempts per game. If you look at all the players who averaged 17, 18 attempts per game and look at their field goal percentage, I would bet you anything RJ Barrett and Julius Randle were at the bottom, and that's the reason why we won 30 here, folks. And there's no ways around it. That's just the truth. That's the hardcore truth. If you're basically excluding the coach, that's the hardcore truth of the reason why the Knicks sucked last year. And so hopefully the Knicks will be better this year. Hopefully they do get this Donovan Mitchell trade done. And hopefully the Knicks don't overpay for it. I don't think they need to. If they're asking for too much, just walk away. It's not worth it. It's really not. Thank you guys. Let me know what you think. Please comment below, like, and subscribe. I'll be more than happy to respond to your comments. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.